Okay, Sharon, welcome to the A is A Health Podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. So on today's show, we have Sharon Prete and our co-host Andy, and we're going to dive into probably sharing some pretty deep stuff.
No doubt, no
Yeah, our
doubt.
background goes back to with James Fitzgerald and OPEX, the original OPT, the CrossFit community, and I know you've had a significant impact on my life. And so hopefully our listeners today can take some cool stuff away. I remember, Sharon, when we were in San Diego, you did a seminar and you said to the crowd that your children weren't your number one value.
You're hitting me with that one first. Yeah.
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 Okay. And no, this has stuck with me seriously forever. And I just wanted to start this off with a bang. And so I'm sitting there with probably 50 people. And the dude ahead of me was like, what the hell? Like he was just awestruck. Like Sharon's up there saying her children aren't her top value. And when you put a spin on that and said that, I think it was like travel and speaking. I'm not sure what you said were the values at the time, but you said in order for you to be the best parent, you had to have your top values fulfilled. And then it clicked like big time. And so I want to start off today with you defining values, what they are, and how do people discover them. And then we can sort of go from there.
Yeah, sure. I can't believe you pulled that from the way back and brought it right here. and I stand by it today. It's still the same today. My values haven't changed. So, values in the way that I talk about them are the things that drive your behavior. And so what drives me as a person in my essence, and my kids are part of my collective values, but they're not my number one value. Actually, having these conversations, teaching, helping people learn human behavior principles, that's my number one value. So I'm still doing it now, all these years later. And it's not a moral judgment either. Some people confuse values with morals, and that's two totally different things. And like I said, the differentiator is values drive your behavior. So what gets me up in the morning, what lights me up, what excites me. And my kids all have their, we're 10 years down the line. They're much older now. They're now 15, 17, 19 and 21, and they all have their own set of values that drive them as well. And that's actually been a joy to watch those values emerge. And so, yeah, values just simply drive your behavior. And so when I was talking about it back then, that was what I was saying. And that's what often shocks people. Because if you ask somebody, well, what are your top values? There's usually three things that they say, my family, some people say my job, other people say my religion, spirituality, and that sort of thing. But if you look at their behaviors, do those behaviors align with what they're saying? So I was one of those people that came out and shocked a crowd and said, that isn't what drives me. And there's a difference between values and love. I love my children. I adore my children. They're my favorite people in the entire world. And so I love spending time with them. I love being with them, but they aren't what drive me to have this conversation. It is my values that drive me to have this conversation.
Is joint pain or stiffness affecting your quality of life? I personally suffered from knee and lower back pain from my training and hobbies. Since I started taking a scoop of Native Path's collagen every day, I noticed a significant improvement in my joint health. I am able to do more things I enjoy with those I love and care about. I personally recommend everyone try Native Path's collagen for joint recovery and for a variety of other health benefits. Native Path has generously offered all of our listeners 15% off by simply entering the code AISA15 at checkout. That's code AISA15 for 15% off your entire purchase. All of Native Path's products are high purity, organic, grass-fed, and clean. So check out all of the great products they have available at their website, nativepath.com.
And I think people feel obligated to give, like you said, the moral answer to that without digging deep. And I think you put that really well, like what's driving them, right? As opposed to saying the generic answer, like I'm a parent, so it's my kids, or I have to say my job, or, whatever those generalist answers are. But that's really not necessarily getting them out of bed every day.
No. And it's a hard truth to say because you invite judgment from people. There are people that have their children as a top value, and that's great for them. It is what drives their behavior. And that's fine. And you might invite moral judgments from people of saying like, oh, you must be a bad mother. How can you say that about your kids? And like I said, it doesn't mean I love my children any less. I may even, no, I'm not even going to say that. I love them for who they are and who their truth is. And because I live my truth in that, it allows and creates the space for their truth to emerge too, of who they are and what drives them.
Yeah, that's huge because I think in today's world, especially, we see so many parents living vicariously through their kids, and pushing their agendas.
Yeah.
And it's just a clusterfuck. Right? Like everyone's confused. The parent doesn't have purpose. The kids, has anxiety and issues, and no one's really giving that space to let them search and be each other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's very natural too. It's very natural because your values drive you. It's very natural to want to inject your values onto other people, your children included. And I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a perfect parent and I give them complete and total space to do it. I screw that up too every once in a while, where one of them might make a fashion choice and I'm like, like I would rather see, in my brain, I'm thinking I would rather see you wear this, and I might make a little comment and then I catch myself doing it and have to like back that up and create a wider space for them to be who they are. So I think I'm always creating a bigger space as they grow and become more and more of who they are. You've got to create a bigger and bigger space for what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about values. I've always found it interesting with working with clients on our end, how we get them to dig deep and discover what those values are. And I heard this, I think it was through Demartini, where people spend their time, money, energy, and thoughts.
That's some of it for sure. There's other places. It's like digging specifically into what are those thoughts? What goals do you set that you actually achieve? And there's a number of things, but ultimately it all falls under the umbrella of behavior. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that he taught me was that you don't say what your values are, you behave what your values are. Oh, and wow. So words lie, behaviors don't, right? It's like when they say actions speak louder than words, that's why. It's because I could sit here and pontificate and say, oh, my children are my top values. And if you look, I go to work every day. Sometimes I work late. Sometimes I go to the gym. I don't spend time with them in that way. And time is one of the ways you express your behavior. Time is a valuable resource. So how you spend that time is a massive indicator of what your values are. And then people will always say, well, I have to work. Actually, you don't. You could choose not to work. You could choose to live a lesser lifestyle. You could choose all kinds of things. But you're not making that choice because it's not in alignment with your values. And I'm not making light of homelessness. I actually, through a friend, he had a longtime friend who was a homeless man in California, and he actively made that choice because it just worked better for him. Mm-hmm. Not all homeless people do. I'm not taking away from mental illness or anything that may lead to that, but there are some people that choice works better for them.
And we're seeing a huge resurgence now in the whole homestead, off-grid, self-reliance, minimal expenses, maximum freedom.
Yeah.
We're really seeing that tremendously. And I think because people are at some extent maybe circling back to what's important to them truly.
Yeah, I do think that. I think people are getting back to their truth, and like you said earlier, there's that pendulum swing, right? We're over here, and there's also collective values, societal collective values, and they're usually dictated by the people who have the most power. They talk about them and tell everyone what their values should be, thus injecting all their values. And we're coming from a time of success looked like this, it sounded like this, it acted like this. And now especially this next generation coming in, that pendulum is swung, and they're like, I don't want your experience. It's not the experience
I wanted to interrupt this amazing podcast with a brief message about one of our sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic in Oneida, New York. Nearly 65 million Americans report suffering from back pain, and I used to be one of them. I found Dr. Pete 8 years ago due to my continual back discomfort and pain. As an active athlete and someone who likes to play hard, I was frustrated when my sessions in the gym started to regress, my sleep went downhill, and I had no idea why. After a comprehensive evaluation by Dr. Pete's team, I was given a detailed treatment plan that I followed to the T. After 3 months of care, my body felt amazing. As a coach, I understand that if you don't maintain your abilities, you will lose it. And the last thing I wanted to do was lose the great progress I had made. I have used Dr. Pete as my personal chiropractor for the last 8 years and attribute much of my physical abilities and overall health to his approach with chiropractic care. The good news is, Lombardi Chiropractic is offering a 50% discount on the initial exam and x-rays to all new members that mention the A is A Health podcast. So stop trying to self-diagnose and save yourself time and money by visiting lombardichiropractic.com and schedule your initial consultation today.
I think a lot of us have learned from our parents.
Yeah.
Right. And then our kids are going to learn and are learning from us.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very interesting times with that awareness, and especially with the internet, when we talk about truth, like they're able to find and cut through the bullshit.
Yeah.
the kids now, versus we had to try something for a week or a month or a year and then realize, well, that wasn't right or not, not correct. Now it's just you Google it and, there it is.
Yeah. Instant grat.
Yeah, exactly. With goal setting and values, I know there's 2 stats here that I'm very intrigued by, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is that only 20% of people set goals, and out of that 20%, 70% never accomplish them. Why do you think people are so poor at accomplishing goals if they even set them for themselves?
Oh, baby, we could do a 3-part podcast on this one alone. I will try to answer that succinctly. I mean, even backing up to what I just said, of we had this collective societal, this is what success looks like. A lot of people set goals to try to align with what they think societal success looks like. Enter in Instagram. You've got endless amounts of scrolling of what success looks like without seeing 99% of what's behind all of that and the work it takes. So there's a lot of fantasy involved in goal setting, and people injecting other people's values onto what that might look like. So if you set a goal and you say, this seems like a great goal. That person did it. I'm going to do it too. I'm going to be the next Kardashians. My family is going to be the next set of Kardashians. And I'm going to set that goal that we're going to, take over media and world domination and have billions of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. That they're just comparing themselves to someone else, and they're setting up an unrealistic expectation. They're not going to do the work it takes to be the next Kardashians. Those people work hard. They make it look easy. Sure. They work really, really hard to create the empire they've created. And so I think people don't recognize that there is hard work involved when they set some of these goals. And then, so that's kind of like the exterior influence to goals. On an interior side, getting to truth and yourself and your essence. I think a lot of people set goals without really thinking, how does this goal align with like who I really am on the inside? What is my essence? What do I want? I have come to realize in the last decade that people never ask themselves, like, what do I really want? What do I really, really, really want? And when you don't ask that, gift yourself that space of being able to answer that in an authentic way for whatever reason. Maybe you don't value yourself. Maybe you were taught, through your parental relationship that your wants and needs don't matter. And people lose that capacity to say what they really want and then set that as a goal. I think that's where a lot of people fall short in their goal setting.